Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's edition of HR Mentorship Learning Series. Tonight, we'll be looking at the topic, talent mapping for effective manpower planning. And our facilitator is Mary Oima. She's the HR lead for Aviatrix Hub. And I would like to read her profile very briefly so that we can get better acquainted with her. Mary is a talent management and people manager. She's a mentor, a trained life coach, and a change management agent. She's a strategic HR leader who is passionate about people and change. She has over 12 years of quality experience in human resources and operation experience across different industries, including aviation, trade, construction, real estate, and working with different people from different nationalities and across the different continents. She used to be the head of HR, Jemima Nigeria Limited, Merit Abode Limited, Grand Products Limited. All right. She has also worked with Sky Power Aviation Handling Company and Aricare Limited. As a transformational leader, she has great insights into matching HR procedures to business objectives that has led to employee development and organizational growth. She has a master's degree in peace and conflict from the University of Ibadan. She's an associate of the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management of Nigeria. She has also served as the chairman, CIPN Apapa Chapter Lagos Branch, and so on and so forth. She's also serving currently in the committee in CIPM at national level. In recognition for her meritorious service, she was recognized by the Lagos State branch of CIPM, as well as some other institutions. She derives passion in impacting her environment positively with mentoring, coaching, and volunteering. She loves to go on amateur horse riding by the seaside anytime she is free, and she's also happily married. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Mary Eshet Oima as she takes the floor.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Doc, for this opportunity. And thank you to everybody that have taken time to join this conversation at this minute. Yes, so we're going to start immediately so that we don't waste further time. We're looking at talent mapping for effective manpower planning. Talent mapping for effective manpower planning. And of course, our table of contents, we will look at the definition of TM, objective of TM. When I say TM, I mean talent mapping, benefit of TM, the talent mapping process. We'll also take a dive into understanding workforce skills and competencies. What tools and techniques do we need for talent mapping? How can we implement talent mapping? A step-by-step guide, best practices for effective talent mapping, what are the challenges? And then we'll look at the conclusion. The aim is to see how can we have an effective TM in order to ensure effective manpower planning. Now, looking at the definition, TM, of course, talent mapping is a systematic identification, is a process whereby an organization have to look at where they are currently and where they are headed in line with the goal of the organization. What do we intend to achieve? What is our plan? Of course, it's just like an individual. At the beginning of every year, everybody tend to have personal goal. Oh, I'll stop drinking, I'll stop this, I'll stop that. Oh, I need to work on this, I need to take social courses. Same with organization. Organization needs to grow, just as individuals are also growing and putting much effort to develop themselves. So you're looking at TM. The aim is to look at skill assessment. What are those skills? If the organization have a dream of looking at expanding to other continents aside from Africa, aside from acting locally, probably the organization is looking at extending to Africa or even other continents. So the next question is who and who do we need for this goal to be achieved? And so the focus here is where do we come in? How do we help the organization to link the gap? The organization is point A and the organization is heading to point B. Now, in between point A and point B, what does that organization needs to do? What skill will be required? That is part of the importance of TM. You also have to evaluate the existing workforce. You look at the gaps that each of those skills that is in the system, the gaps they have, and then also look at who is supposed to occupy a particular position. For example, you have someone being a manager, sales, for example, and you have another staff as a sales officer. Can we train this very person? Because if this manager have to leave the organization, how are we going to mitigate that gap? So these are part of what TM entails. It helps to nurture talent acquisition. It helps to bring up people that will be able to fill in the gap. And looking at the current, can you hear me? I need to be sure. Can you hear me?
Let's proceed, and we can permanently hear you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, sir. So looking at the talent acquisition on ground, what and what, where and where, who do we need to consult? What organization do we need to consult in order to help us to handle the talent acquisition? And that's where we talk about recruitment. So talent mapping is very, very important. And when we get it right for an organization, we had also helped the organization to be able to flow smoothly, thereby helping operation not to be disrupted. Of course, we also know that TM also helps to create inclusion. It helps to create employee engagement. Yes, it helps to create employee engagement because when we gather data, how do we gather data? Well, of course, data can be gathered when, for example, we've carried out our survey, and the survey that we've carried out, the audit we carried out, we document it, we analyze it, and not just to gather the data, we analyze it because we need to be able to use those data, those information that have been gathered for futuristic prediction. What do you mean by futuristic prediction? Where are we headed? What are those tendencies? What are the likelihood of talent leaving the organization? What can we do to mitigate this challenge that may come? Because of course it will come, especially in this age that we are. That is, we now run a borderless work environment. There's that tendency for talent to move is there. So in this case, we say talent is liquid. Talent will definitely move. Talent will definitely be attracted to an organization that have what it takes to keep them. So talent mapping is 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 essential to be able to connect the dots of an organization and make the fabric of that organization to stand firm. So it's just like, for example, we decide to plant a seed. When we plant a seed, of course, the farmer is expected to go there, water the seed, check the soil, water it, add some manure and the rest. Why? Because you want that seed to be rooted deeply into the soil before it starts to grow. So also the TM. I know I'm spending more time here because it is when we get this right, every other things we put in place will also fall in line. So we need to understand the importance of TM. And so when we talk about inclusive employee engagement, of course, we also have the aspect that has to do with building trust and raising morale. That is the whole essence of TM. Remember, we said an effective tool. Tool. How effective is the tool we are using? And where are we headed? So if we say we want to have effective talent mapping, what are those other things that can mitigate against whatever we're trying to achieve? For example, let's assume we have all the employees we need with all the skills and all the training, but we've also failed in the area of building trust. We fail in the area of boosting their morale. We also fail in the area of there's this issue whereby some organizations tend to look at talent mapping from the angle of senior management. Yes, that had been the trend. That's the traditional approach. The focus had been, oh, these are the high performers. as against looking at those that also have the potential. So they focus most of the training on the high performance. Oh, we don't want this high performance to go. Oh, forgetting that a time will come that this particular high performance will go no matter the number of training they are giving. So what are we expected to do? Because mind you, the employees are also looking at the temperature of the organization, and part of the temperature they assess is, oh, this management don't even think about us that are coming up. Oh, they are not even considering those of us that are just joining the organization. Okay, since they are focusing on the senior high performers, okay, so let's just be doing our job. And so what do you have? You have presentism. You now have people that every now and then they will tell you, oh, they are going to see the doctor 1,000,001 times, and we fail to analyze this trend. We fail to analyze this trend. We fail to look at, oh, how come Emeka is always giving excuse, oh, I need to see the doctor. I need to see the doctor. He's not seeing any doctor. He's also trying to see how can he connect with more people, even going to greet some other people in order to be able to drop his CV. So we need to be able to get this right. Employee engagement, inclusiveness in whatever program we are looking at, to be all encompassing and not just narrow minded, not just restricted to high performer. Also, talent mapping, the importance also has to do with succession planning. Succession planning, remember when I said there's no need for us to consider to restrict our planning only to the high performer, but we also need to look at the those that have the potentials. And so in this case, why do we need that? Because somebody one day will leave. You need to be able to get a replacement immediately. Sometimes it may be that the person have the capacity, but it doesn't have all what it takes. And so looking at that timing, whereby you have that exit of that high performer for that role, who have we been able to prepare to be able to stand in the gap? It's possible for us to get someone to stand in the gap, maybe for 3 months, maybe for 2 months, or maybe just for 1 month, pending when you now have another person to fill in that position. Or it's also possible for you to have trained that very person that have that potential to have that capacity to be able to stand in, and then at that period we say you are placing that the person is acting. So when you now have the person acting in that capacity, of course, you also give the person KPI. You're also assessing the person to see how has this person be able to fit into this position. And then in that situation, you're not just leaving that person, you're also giving the person support. Because sometimes leaders will say, oh, after I've employed you, I'm paying you salary, so give me the deliverables. No, because some people are good at acting as support, but now they are taking the center stage. And the center stage comes with a lot of burden. A center stage comes with a higher capacity. So in that case, it is the TM planning that will help this individual to be able to manage and also grow along the line. So also the TM, we are still on this page, the TM, the importance. So also you find out that the TM also helps the organization to be able to dictate on time who are those that have that tendency to leave the organization. And of course, remember I said, as you look at the picture whereby you have all the employers, all the employees, all these talents that needs to occupy all the positions for the goal of the organization to be achieved. But among the staffs, you have people that are disgruntled, you have people that are not happy with the way things are going. And then what do you do? What do you do at that situation? Now, when we carry out that talent mapping, we are also carrying out survey. How can we improve on the retention of our employees? How can we make them to grow? What are those things that make them to be disgruntled? Are there internal positions that we can consider some of them? are there some job roles? Sometimes we fail to realize that some employees, although all what they are looking for is additional responsibilities. I remember when I was in the particular organization in one of my life, and all I needed was just give me additional roles that will expose me to VPs. Then when I joined the organization, so that was really what I needed. Whereas my other colleagues that were on the same level were fighting for higher salary. But for me, what was tripping me, let me use that word trip, what was tripping me then was how to sit with senior management, converse with them. That was what was my passion. And so my boss, who happens to be an expatriate, the head of the GM of HR then, she saw that even when I didn't voice out. So every time they have management meetings, she would tell me, "Oh, Mary, please, I need you to bring a file." And of course, the excitement in me was with so much, because when I go to give her the file, I will wait. I will wait for her to tell me either go or not. And so when I go to the boardroom, she doesn't tell me to go. She will tell me, "Okay, wait, maybe in case if management needs something, I'll be able to tell you to quickly to get it." And that makes me to get more passionate on my job role. So you also have some employees that need exposure. So when we carry out assessment, when we carry out survey, we'll be able to pull out some of this information, and this will serve as a benefit for the organization when we have that strategy put in place. When we improve our recruitment process, when we look at the targeted hiring strategy, it also helps us to reduce the time to fill a particular vacant positions. Yes, it helps us to fill that vacant positions in good time, so that we end up not spending so much time trying to get talent to occupy a position. If, for example, you're making do of a particular position, we fail to apply technology. We have failed to apply technology. We fail to look at AI. We fail to look at what is a trend. Then we are just living in stone age. We are one step forward, 15 steps backward. So we look at how can we improve recruitment, because recruitment, for us to fill every position, there is time frame. Remember, we're looking at succession planning. There is time frame. Do we have staff internally that can fill the position? If you have been able to do your succession planning well, if you're able to connect it accurately, you'll be able to fill in that position effortlessly. And then we also look at what are those sources, what are those consultants we are using to fill up our recruitment strategies. Are they the people that we can rely on? Are they consultants that we can rely on that can give us this talent ASAP? I remember when we needed to look for candidates for my current organization, to handle the section that has to do with training people that will be able to coordinate flights. And what did we do? Myself and the team, we said, okay, let's go back to our previous colleagues. And that gave us what we needed excellently. Within 4 hours max, we were able to get all the talents, because it was not the position that we needed to throw online to say, okay, we need so people. We know if we do that, it's going to take us days, because we're working with time. And we're able to do that. In fact, we got access and we now have people on standby. So we need to also look at those strategies. What are those strategies we need to apply in order to be able to achieve progress in this area? Now, in order for us to progress, we go straight to the talent mapping process. In order for us to progress from the TM, there's a gap. There are skills that we are looking for. There are talents we are looking for. So what do we do first? The talent mapping process, of course, with the aid of tech, involve a structured approach. It begins with defining organizational goal and conclude with developing targeted talent acquisition strategies. Set out the goal. Align talent mapping with the goal of the organization. When we do that, it helps us not to look out for talents in the wrong spots. Then what the next thing is, analyze the workforce. What are those people? What do we have on ground? Your current assets, your current talents. Carry out that analysis. We need to do this regularly. So it's not something we say we want to do. We've done it in 2022. So the next one we want to do in 2025. Capital no. You need to analyze your workforce continually. Look out for high performers. Look out for high potentials. Identify the gaps. Now, for example, the organization is looking at setting up organization XYZ organization wants to start another office in Ghana. What are those talents? What are those talents will be needed to start up Ghana operation, for example? The people that are on ground, who can we quickly move to that unit? We can probably say, okay, the skill we have on ground, we discuss with the person, are you ready to go there on a permanent basis, or you want to go there temporarily? And the person said, no, I don't want to leave my family. I want to go there on a temporary basis. Now you carry out survey, discuss with all the team. Mind you, when you are carrying out this TM, please and please make sure you carry all the parties. Please, it is not an assignment that you carry single-handedly. You have to discuss with all the stakeholders, the line managers, the management. You need to get the management buy-in for you to go to the next stage. Identify the gaps, discuss with the line managers to see, okay, you are the head of the marketing in Nigeria. Please, I need you to release one person. You need to get that head of that department agreement. Because mind you, when you pull that staff out, and that staff is a high performer, you have also not helped that lineman, that manager, to be able to perform, to meet up with his own target. So you need to get his agreement. Okay, now that there's a gap. Now I want to pull out one person. What are you giving to me? Are you ready to train? I have two other people that can fill this gap effortlessly. Okay, are you ready to train them to be able to catch up? We need to have that engagement. We need to have that conversation. And so when we have that conversation, then we now be able to develop that talent to be able to fill in that position. And where you have a situation whereby you cannot fill that position for a permanent basis, you now look at, okay, what are those people that can help? What are those consultants? Then you fall back to also your network. What do you have in your network that can refer you to recruitment agency in Ghana, so that you don't also fall short of their labor law? Because you also need to take into cognizance that aspect. So this also comes to the point that has to do with developing your strategy. Create the plan for the talent acquisition, the development and retention for that role. This is very, very important. So when you do that, you now notice that you'll be able to progress. So now you've been able to look at those areas that we talked about, and you'll be able to progress to the next aspect, which has to do with understanding your workforce. Understanding the workforce. When you can get this right, when you have been able to define your goals, you've been able to analyze your workforce effectively, when you're able to identify your goals, then you realize that it makes it easy for you. Remember, I said this has to be done on a regular basis. Your entry level team, look at your mid-level team. Who are those that are in the senior level team? What expertise do you need at that level? Now, looking at the current situation, remember that your planning has to be for short term, mid-term, and the long-term targets. This is very, very important. So when you have this is just for example. You look at the technical skill for this role. What level of technical skill do you require? For somebody with an entry level, do you require the basic proficiency? Intermediate level, what's the technical skill? What level? So that way you'll be able to understand and be able to place them accordingly. Also, aside from the technical skill, remember that we are also looking out for their soft skills. What type of soft skills do these levels require? Of course, if it is an entry level role, you don't expect the candidate, you don't expect the talent to start having a strategic thinking role. Yes, if they can have that at that entry level, but there's no way you can pull them out to start making management decision. So that's why I said you need to you do this on a regular basis without dropping the ball at any of the level. Effective communication skill for entry level. For the mid level, are you looking at team collaboration? For the senior level, are you looking at conflict resolution? Now, when you look at this, now you can start by looking at an entry level. What role, what job role can you give this person? You want to assess, does this person have that conflict resolution skill? Maybe the skill is just at a grass level. Let me use that word. And this person might need a little training. Okay, so if I train this person, does this person have that tendency to be able to grow with time? So if you look at that, you know, okay, so for me to now assess this person in the next 1 year, in the next 2 years, where do I see this entry level talent to get to in organization? For me, when I'm on a panel and I'm interviewing candidates, what comes to mind is, how can this talent help the organization to grow? Number one, how can this talent also grow to the level of becoming management staff? All my interview, that had always been my guiding principle. And so sometimes I throw some questions to see, does this person have that skill? Does this person have that tendency to lie? Does this person has that tendency to brace up? I remember asking, which was part of what I shared on the LinkedIn. I asked somebody on a panel, and I said, oh, for example, you have been asked to come to resume your job, and then all of a sudden, your wife, because I asked, are you married? They said, no. Okay, how about you if your wife just took ill? I said, okay, God forbid that now happened, and you're supposed to resume to work. He said, no, I will not resume to work. In fact, my job is more important. Of course, I get to see desperation. So you see, when you carried out your interview, what do you have in mind? What is the organization culture? So that is why, looking at this table, you need to understand your workforce skill and competence. And then when you say understanding the workforce skill, you need to have a full understanding of the job description, the JD, the job specialization. What is this person coming to do? Because that is what will help you when you are carrying out the TM for the organization. So when you have this in place, you'll be able to progress. You'll be able to look at the next. What tools do I need? What tools do I need in order for you to progress? After carrying out that analysis, after carrying out that assessment, thorough assessment, and mind you, this is going to be it's going to take time, because for you to score a point, for the organization to see as a HR, if you are actually adding value, is to also see how have my HR, that's how we say my HR, how have my HR team been able to help the organization to run into crisis when it comes to the area of TM, because you're not going to be assessed on how much you've been able to bring into the organization. Yes, we know that we also need to also push the brand of the organization, which is fantastic. You also have your KPI in that area. But your major role that the organization had employed you is to be able to mitigate the crisis of running short of talents, the crisis of running short of who to be able to use when somebody resigns. So when we're progressing, we go to the next aspect, which has to do with tools. What tools do we need? How have you been able to carry out your analysis as a HR? What are you doing with your data as a HR? Tools and techniques for talent mapping is very, very important. tools and technique for talent mapping is very, very important. And you need to make this a priority. Look at your data, your HR analytics data. How do you preserve that data? Why do you ask yourself the first question? Why do I even need this data? Why am I gathering this data? Or is this just to show that I'm busy? No, it's not to show that you're busy. It's because you need that data to be able to predict. That is why they said data helps us to be able to make informed decision. And when we make informed decision, we are also helping the organization to be able to save costs, to be able to save time, and also be able to help operation to flow smoothly. That is where we come in. So when we have this data and we've been able to analyze the data and we've been able to tell, oh, what are those things that can make employee to leave organization quickly? So in this case, we are also using the data. We are not expected to wait until when an employee is leaving the organization, they will not start to run from pillar to post. Oh no, wait. I want to give you exit interview form. So you tell us why are you leaving? What can we do better? No. We are expected to carry out data, stay in data, carry out that interview. What are those things we need to do? What are you interested to move to another place? Those informations we need to keep it. Even while having an interview, you're carrying out an interview, for example, say you want to interview someone for let's say finance position, finance analyst. You can also ask that person, aside from finance analyst, let's assume there are other roles in the organization. What other position will interest you? Why are you doing that? You're also trying to carry out your data in advance. I remember in an organization, we did an interview for help desk position, and the gentleman came, performed excellently well. In fact, he wowed us. And then the question came up, and I said, okay, aside from this position, what other skill do you have in the tech line? The gentleman said, oh, I also have the skill for web developing. I can develop some web for the organization. I can do this, I can do that. And I said, but remember that this position is for help desk support. I just needed to ask in case if there's an opportunity. Guess what? Do you know that after 1 year that the gentleman came, the company decided to change their strategy, and they now decide to look for web developers. They were going around to look for people outside in the organization. I quickly went back to our database, and I remember seeing this gentleman ask a question, because in that interview document, I wrote it there that, oh, he is also interested in web developing position. Immediately, I have to call up the head of the department. I said, oh, sir, I want to have a meeting with you. We had that conversation, and the head of that department was so full of joy because the man had been given a target of producing someone within 3 hours. And that was how we were able to fill in that gap. So why am I bringing that illustration up? Is when you have your information, you gather your data. How do you store that data? Do you say, oh, the interview is done, so you trash that document? I don't believe trashing documents. I believe so much in keeping information from time to time. We review that information in order for people to be able to use that when the time arises. So you skill inventory. This is also very important, which reflect to the document I popped up when I said understanding workforce skill and competence. This is very, very important. You conduct comprehensive assessment of both your technical and your soft skills. Here I'm talking about tools and techniques for effective talent mapping. Now you also fall back on the feedback mechanism. What do you do with your feedback mechanism? When you get this feedback, do you just trash them, or do you implement those feedback? This is very, very key. And then when you not also want to carry out some of this feedback, how are you doing this to ensure privacy to ensure whatever information you are getting, you are also not divulging that information, because you also need to protect the identity of whoever that is giving you that information. This is very important, because if you don't do that, remember we talked about trust, building trust, employee engagement, building trust. This is very, very important, because if you don't build trust, some of those information, when you discuss with some line managers, they may not be willing to give you the feedback. They may just think, oh, is it not the usual thing? After getting this information, the next thing is just to dump it. For example, let's take a look at a company, a tech sector. Skill assessment. You look at Google. Google have been able to use AI power to assess and map employee skills continually. If you talk about career paths, Microsoft, what has Microsoft been able to do? Microsoft employs the technique of talent mapping to create personalized career development plan. So as a talent walks into the organization, they come up with an individual career growth, personal development, which is very, very important. And that is why you find out that a lot of people these days want to say, oh, even some people, even till date, some people will say, oh, I would like to go to Google. I would like to be a staff of Microsoft. Oh, because why? We can see what they are doing differently. So the question now is, for your organization, what are you doing differently? Succession planning. Both companies utilize talent mapping for effective leadership succession planning. So the focus for them is, as a talent comes into the organization, they start to prepare that talent for leadership role from the word go. They don't wait until that talent gets to managerial level. No. And that is why you see from some employees don't leave an organization, not because they are paying them well. Yeah, no. Sometimes you'll be shocked that they're not even getting excellently, but because of the development plan, the succession plan on ground, that is what attracts them, because for them, they believe that, yes, even if I'm earning, for example, 800,000 now, and I'm seeing another advert that tells me 900,000, but that other organization is not ready to train me, it's not ready to develop me. But my current organization is ready to develop me to that point. So that means if I stay with this organization and after 1 year I move to the next level in my career, the tendency for me to get 1.5 is there. So you see, for that employee, there's talent, there's delay gratification. So he would prefer to stay with that organization, because he knows that that organization is also interested in his or her personal development to the leadership role. So the question now is, you go back to your organization, what are you doing differently that can make you to stand out as an organization? Are you just going around in circle, or do you just wait when there is need, then you start to run from pillar to post? Or is it when you notice that there is crisis, you look at your employee, the employee is a talent, and they don't have good customer skills, and then you decide to overlook, and you say, oh, after all, my own role is just to bring employee. No, that is where you now need to look for training that can help to sharpen that skill. This is very, very important. Now we look at the next, which has to do with implementing talent mapping. So how do you do this effectively? You first of all carry out your assessment, your current state, evaluate the existing workforce, the skill and capability, define your future needs. Define your future need. Don't make that mistake of waiting or being reactive. Please don't wait until when you have exodus movement of talent from your organization, then you now have to start going back. Oh, sir, you don't know what is going on. I don't know why people are leaving. It has to do with the line manager. The line manager is not doing well. And then at that point, you now decide to blackmail the line managers, so they don't look at what you have failed to do as the HR think tank of the organization. when you have defined your future need, you develop action plan. And this action plan you have to make out time. The first 2 months, you bring in the talent. The next month, which is the third month, what are those training you have planned out for that employee? What are those things? Who does this employee needs to work with? Who does this employee needs to see? Who does this employee needs to be attached to? Now, when you now run out your performance appraisal, which is part of your development action plan, you now also assess the employee you have attached this new talents to. Has this employee been able to perform in the aspect of grooming this new employee? This is very, very key. You need to be able to assess the staff that had also been attached to assess this other employee, because you need to tell that staff, please note, this is also your KPI, because we need to know if you have the capacity to be able to groom and grow more talent under you. So when you come from that angle, you find out that you at that basis, at that point in time, you're having a conversation with that individual, with that line manager. And so when you have that line manager's conversation, when you have that meeting, guess what? The solution will no longer come from you. You find out that even the line manager, even the head of the department will be able to profile solution to say, okay, if that's the case, okay, this is how I can do it. What do you think? Maybe I can do it this way. You allow them to pour out their hearts. Give them room to also suggest solution, because solution can never come from one way. Solution cannot come from you alone. You have to involve all the stakeholders. You also monitor and adjust. When you are monitoring, you're also trying to see. Remember that we are in a VUCA world. Remember that as you're working, you are not working in isolation. You also have your external forces, your external competitors. Apply the SWOT analysis and when you are also carrying out these steps, because you also want to monitor what are those things that can attract your employee to go to your competitors. And then what do you need to quickly adjust? When you do this effectively, you'll be able to manage the attrition rates. Because, of course, there's no way we say that employees will not leave the organization. Don't get me wrong. They will definitely leave, but not in at an alarming rate, whereby an operation can just collapse. No, in fact, you have a situation whereby because you've been able to implement this step-by-step guide, even when your employees, when they are leaving, in fact, you'll be able to even go back to them when their need arises, for them to even come and serve as a consultant, because you've been able to monitor, you've been able to adjust. You can even fall back to some of them to say, oh, this is what is going on in your organization. Oh, what do you think you can do differently? Oh, you notice this organization is so. All try to link, fall back to your network, make your relationship with them, with all the network, to be very, very thick. And when you do this, you'll be able to surmount some challenges. The vocal world is tough out there. So it is also not easy for employers. It is not easy for employers. But how do we make it easy? How do we take this load off them? How do we give them the assurance that no, we are here to support you in order for us to actualize the organizational goal? It is when we're able to assess current states of the organization, define the future need, develop action plan, monitor adjustment, then we'll find out that we'll be able to do this effortlessly. And so that is why when you are in the management meeting, don't go there just to mark register. Don't go there just to mark register, because it is at that management meeting your input will also be assessed. Your valuable contribution will also be assessed. So when you go to management meeting, for example, all you just do is yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. In fact, it will not get to a point when they need to take critical decision. You will not be invited, because they'll say, no, our HR is yes, sir, HR. And so you'll be relegated. So you need to burn the candles. You need to also have more leaders Who are you also comparing yourself with as the HR leader? This is very key because you cannot give out what you don't have. Oh yes, you can also you can also help the organization to know the implication of not having this project, because it's a project, of not focusing on this, and the implication, because every organization wants to have a HR, wants to have talent that will be able to justify every action that is taken vis-a-vis the revenue implication. So when an employer notices that, oh, this HR is always talking in terms of figure. When she makes her argument, she backs it up with figure. She's been able to assess, oh, if we don't have a talent A, this is implication. The organization will lose so hour of manpower, and that will make the staff that are limited not to be able to achieve their goal at the optimal level. So when we do this, we're able to go to the next phase. We're able to progress, and then we look at best practices for effective talent mapping. We'll be able to regulate, update. You find out that you'll be able to maximize your talent, the talent you have in the organization. And so you no longer run helter skelter. You will be able to have the opportunity of having all your talent well grounded and are ready for any eventualities. So if you, and then the next thing will also be, remember, is that when you're doing this, also let the talent know that you are not just doing this for the organization, that you believe that as the organization is growing, they also need to grow to the point of whereby one day they will be able to also stand on their feet and also be able to employ talent, be able to bring in talent in their own organizations. Because that will also help them to assess the values they are also bringing, the time they are also spending in what they are doing. So this will also help for the organization to be able to progress. No organization wants to be stagnant. For effective talent mapping, no organization wants to be stagnant. Every organization wants to be recognized, wants to be able to stand, to be able to withstand the pressure of the external environment, the organizational policy. Of course, if you look at where we are currently, look at some of the decisions that have been taken by the government, the implication of of subsidy removal, the lot of changes that had come in the finance sector, the policies from the regulators. So all these are external forces that can affect the organization. But when we as a team, the think tank of the organization, have been able to do our part, we will be able to help the organization to maximize the impact of talent mapping using technology. So don't say, oh, okay, you're an organization and you've always been using manual. No, you can, yes, there are some organizations that might not be able to afford the latest tech and all that. You can start by probably having maybe one desktop, just one, because sometimes the employers also look at cost. But discuss, okay, probably let's have just one desktop. You can start. For organizations that doesn't have the wherewithal, regular update, continuously refine talent map to reflect evolving tech trend and organizational need. Stakeholders engagement is very, very key. We cannot play down on this. If we don't involve them, we'll just keep going around in shadows and our impact will not be felt. And that is the gospel truth. Our impact will not be felt when we keep going in circles. Involve tech leaders and employees. Leverage AI and machine learning to automate and enhance mapping efforts. Data driven is a game changer in everything we do. Data driven approach will help to change the face of how we approach our decision making. And it will also help to leverage on decision making from the top. Yes, sometimes you may just join an organization as a HR, and maybe it's an organization that you have, like, the organization have been in existence for 30 years. And so you have some people that have been there for, in fact, from 29.999 years in the organization. And so there's this fear. Oh, these people might serve as a challenge. Bring them together. Have that conversation. It will take a lot from you, but you need to persist. You don't need to give in, and you shouldn't give up. When you do this, you'll be able to you become more visible as the HR. You will not be visible in terms of, okay, head of sales, give us 80 billion. This is your target. The HR will not be given that target. But your target is, how have you been able to ensure that the temperature of the organization is cool and friendly? That is where we come in. So these are some of the best practices for effective talent mapping, because the aim is to ensure that the organization external brand building is on point. When we do this, it can lead to better employee engagement. When we get it right in our talent mapping, when we want to attract talent into our organization, you find out that you have a lot of candidates trying to struggle to come in, as against talent candidates saying, oh, is it that organization that hire and fire? Oh, I remember one organization that when I joined, and I told them in the office, funny enough, when I'm changing to a new place, I sometimes tell my colleagues, and I would tell you the fact, I used to carry my organs along. So in this particular organization, I told my boss, and I said, oh, sir, I'm moving to so organization. What do you think? And my boss said, oh, wow, you're going to that organization. Oh, you mean I'm going to lose you? I saw he was very sad. And I said, I'm sorry, sir, but this is what they are offering me. And I also have the opportunity of going to do my job in different countries, which was part of what I was told while I was doing my interview. So remember, I said that some people, it's not just the job, it's also the additional responsibilities that might serve as a pep. So for me in that interview, aside from the salary, I also told my boss, I said, okay, no, this job, I'll have an opportunity of going to Sierra Leone, of going to Ghana, of going to South Africa and UK, because then that organization have branches in some of these countries. And so my boss realized that, oh, there's nothing he can do that he can get me back. But that was the first comment he made. He said, oh, remember that their termination process is zero. He said, said, that place is point and kill. So imagine that. So for us to be able to attract the right talent, we should know that challenges will come when we fail to do what we are expected to do. Resistance to change. Remember when I was talking, I said you might have some people that have been in the organization for so long. Now, those type of people may serve as a stumbling block. Some people don't like changes. Some people, they want it. This is how we've been doing it. It must be like this. I remember a secretary in a particular organization, and I said, "Oh, these are letterhead. No, 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 no. We don't need to print out letterhead anymore. Let's do soft copy. This is how we're going to." And she just told me, because I was new in that organization. She said, "No, no, 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 no. We are not going to." I said, "Oh, okay." So within, I said, "Oh, number one, stumbling block." So at that point, I left her. The next thing I did, I moved back to my boss. And I said, sir, this is what is causing the organization to print out, what do you call it now? To print out letterhead for the organization. I said, look at the cost. Can we channel this amount to another project? And the man said, okay, let's try it. There was that initial reluctance. So what did I do at that point? I said, okay, sir, while we try that, we already have some letterhead in the office. We will use this letterhead for key issues for correspondent that you need top management of other organizations. And gradually, that was how we're able to break even. So there are a lot of resistance that we will face. Don't think you will not face resistance. You will definitely face resistance. But it is our ability to be able to work around it in order for the organization to be able to score 100% in the area of talent mapping. Employees and managers may resist new talent mapping processes, but that is why we said for you to be able to achieve this, get their buy-in, carry them along. Don't leave anybody behind. Don't say, oh, that when you joined the organization, that manager did not greet you. And so because of that, I'm going to show him that I'm now in charge of talent. So it is who I want to recruit that I will recruit. No, because if you do that, then you're going to run into issues. Data accuracy. Yes, you sometimes have issues with data accuracy. It is either those that you met on ground did not keep enough data, or maybe those you are working with don't take the pain to keep informations, and so you run into a challenge. I remember when I joined an organization, and because I have to start the HR of that organization, the HR department, I have to go back to the finance department that have been handling the assignment. I said, please, can I have these informations back? Oh, in fact, it was tough. We couldn't have up to 60% of the staff detail. In fact, even the detail of staff that had left the organization, they could not produce. So we need to be able to. So this can be a hindrance. When we don't get it right in this aspect, we'll have an issue. When I work with data, when I work with employees information, when I work with document, what do? I tell myself, Mary, you don't need to be on ground for when an issue comes up that your office will not need to call you. Oh, Mary, where can I find so far? Oh, Mary, where can I? No. When we don't keep data accurately, whoever that is going to take over that role, we have issue, we have challenge. So we need to work on this. If currently in your office you have accurate record, please let this training now help you to go and start it. I remember when I have to tell when I moved into that department, that organization I was talking about, and I asked the new person that joined me. She didn't have HR skills, and so they recruited her. She didn't have the skills, so I needed to put her through. It was stressful because yes, it's going to be stressful because she doesn't understand the importance of this data. So when she started initially, it was a challenge. Oh, she will put one information in B, and I have to tell myself, no, Mary, spend more time, put her through, because if you don't get it right in your data, then there's going to be an issue. For me, when I leave an organization, I want the organization to be able to flow from where I have stopped. Even when I have to do my handover note, I spend more time on my handover note also to ensure that there is no gap. The last place I left, I spent just 3 months in that organization because something happened that I needed to change location. So when I needed to change location, I told myself, okay, now you have done everything. There's also going to be an issue because you've been working with your system. And so at that point, they were working on getting another system, but the system they gave me was an issue. They said, oh, there's going to be all the information you need is on that system. There was no information on that system because the person that worked with that system deleted all the information. So it gave me an issue. Why am I bringing this up? Is for you to also realize that your duty as a HR, as a think tank, is also to help whoever that is going to take over from you, not to go through stress. The stress you went through. So you don't say because you went through that stress, somebody else will have to go through that. No. Be strategic. Be strategic, apply strategic alignment. This is definitely going to be a big issue. So now what do I mean by this aspect? You've just joined an organization or you have a project. Look out for those that can support to push that project. So when you have people that can push that project to the limelight, what do? Don't go to that meeting and say, I brought this, I. No, you can play down on the I, because this is a great challenge. A lot of people face this. I have also faced this, but I've been able to work on this because I also change the process. So what do I do in some situation? What I do is that I try to push the some of the project that I come up with to maybe, for example, like the GM of marketing. So I say, okay, sir, okay, let's have, so we are going to have another management meeting. So, sir, do you want, I will allow you to also share what you feel about this. Mind you, I've also gotten his pulse. I have checked his pulse to know if he aligned with this. And so he was happy. So I decided to allow him to make the information known. It wasn't as if I was not capable of doing it, but I know for that particular project to get everybody's attention, I also need him to also re-echo. So when he was making his presentation, what did he do? He said, even Mary, when I discussed with Mary, this was also the angle she came from. So you see, now he said, when I discussed with Mary, he didn't say when Mary came to me. So that way, some of your project will fly. But if you are not strategic, that is why you have to be able to put on your political emotional intelligence. Bring in that political intelligence cap. That is why you have to put it on for you to be able to mitigate this aspect. If you are not strategic, forget it. Your project, what you are coming up with for the organization that is beneficial for the organization, even when they know that it's going to be beneficial for the organization, they may not help you to succeed in that area. So that is part of the challenges that you will face. Of course, you also face challenges whereby you want to move some employees from a particular department as a result of as a result of someone leaving an organization. So what do you do? What are those challenges? So when you face those challenges, what do you do? How do you discuss with that person? Do you let the head of that department to realize that, oh, you know what, I'm happy that you like this person, but you see, we are also trying to train everybody to be head of department. You never can tell, this other person too can also come to also cover up for you when you're also going for vacation, when you have issue. So let's not allow everybody to be lower. I'm just trying to suggest some of the alignments you can carry out strategically when you are faced with carrying out effective talent mapping. Remember that in all this that we are saying, the aim is to ensure that we progress to the point whereby an organization can be able to stand tall and run without a hiccup, without any gap being noticed, and without any issue in the flow. So in conclusion, if we look at our strategy, in conclusion, we realize that challenges can help us to overcome issues, and it will not serve as a power for us to be able to get it right in all aspects when it comes to talent mapping, when it comes to talent retention, when it comes to talent engagement, when it comes to promoting the culture of the organization. This is very, very important. Strategic alignment is key. Don't relegate that to the background. Don't say, oh, because you are close to the MD, and so you don't need to align with others in that organization. Talent mapping ensures that workforce capability align with business goal. When we get it right in this aspect, talent mapping become a major tool for us to be able to add value. It also improve performance. Organization with effective talent mapping always perform excellently well. And we also realize that when the organization perform excellently well, it trickles down to the employees' performance. And then you now find out that the organization will be able to produce more high performance. So the organization no longer run short of high performance talent base when we get it right. It also helps for future ready workforce. Proactive talent mapping prepares organization for future challenges. Also, when we put side by side our SWOT analysis. So, what are we expected to do? Implement talent mapping strategy to unlock your organization's full potential. Don't neglect the temperature that is coming from your employees. Don't say it is not none of my business. Don't say I'm not being paid well, and so I don't need to do that. After all, management don't call me when they are taking that decision. Don't say because your salary is low as the head of HR and the head of marketing and even the supervisor in the marketing are earning more. No, the only way you can justify that you are adding value to the organization, the only way you can justify that you are an asset to the organization, the only way that you can justify that your place in the organization cannot be deleted is based on this. And that is when your voice will be heard, and that is when you become a force to reckon with. Thank you so much.
Wow, 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 wow. That was beautiful. I
Thank you,
enjoyed
sir.
this session so much. Very, very engaging. Very, very, very engaging. Thank you so much for that
Thank you,
brilliant
sir.
presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, you know how we do it. If you want to ask questions or you want to maybe share your experience or an opinion or comment along the subject matter, you are welcome. All you need to do is kindly raise your hands and we will grant you the permission to unmute. If you also prefer to drop your question in the chat box, please type quickly so that we can read the questions and comments alike, and our facilitator for tonight can provide some response or additional insight. For me, this was well articulated, detailed. You spoke from
Thank you,
your
sir.
art, from your experience. Talent
Thank
mapping
you,
is
sir.
a very important area that
Mm,
we also need to know. So while I'm waiting for people who may want to either ask questions to raise their hands or drop their comments or thoughts in the chat box, let me also say, add this tiny bit to it. Oh, fantastic. I have those who I wanted to speak since no one was ready to speak yet. I don't have to speak. Those who you have the floor, please. Hello, Dosu.
Good evening, ma.
Good
Good evening,
evening.
sir.
Yeah, this information is very key, and I believe it will really help a lot of people to manage the process of recruitment and selection, and to minimize stress. However, I
Mm,
just want to ask some questions because I believe that in my last workplace, I did not work as HR.
okay.
I work as a technical engineer. But something happened. I
Mm-hmm.
discovered that even when you try to open up to the HR team about your capacity or what you can do to
Mm-hmm.
negate stress of looking for um, other engineers or employee, or to come in to support the company, they see it as a threat.
Mm-hmm.
They see it as a threat to the extent that they blocked you from moving to another
Mm-hmm.
department. So when you find yourself in this kind of situation, what are the necessary steps you need to take as an employee? Thank you.
All right, Ma, you can respond.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay, so now is an issue that is not just is not just your organization alone. Sorry, I needed to take up the camera to ensure that the network does not bounce me out because it's giving me sign. So you find out that when you have such HR leaders, it speaks about their value. This is very important. We need to note this. It speaks about their value. The value that everything must start from me and end with me. And so they try to project the image of semi-God. Let me use that word. HR has gone beyond that level. For you to access and attract talent does not just start and end with HR.
Because this talent that is also coming is not just coming to work with HR, it's coming to work with that department. So what HR is expected to do is also to get their buy-in. There are some positions that are very, very key. I remember when we were looking for a technical role in a particular organization that was a merit abroad. We needed talents that are grounded when it comes to designing, interior design. And interior design, we were not looking for talent that are just new. We needed people that can hit the ground running. So at that point, the head of the department have to come to me to say, okay, Madam, what do we do? I said, okay, we can make do with all our network. What network do you have? What network do I have? And so we pull resources together. The advert was shared on all the platforms. So you see, when the people applied, they applied through the email, through the detail that HR has been provided. And of course, when HR needs to do the shortlisting, when I did the shortlisting, you are guided by the requirements. So I'm not guided by sentiment, but when we bring in sentiment to what we are doing, we are invariably playing down on the standard. And that is where you now make the employees not to have that trust in you as a HR. And so when they need to open up, when there are other issues, they would want to get to you and say, that HR, I don't want to have time more. That one is a no-go area, and become an issue.
Yes, ma'am.
Your mic is muted, Mary. I don't know if it's intentional. Mary, you are muted if you can hear us. Okay, we can hear you now. Yes, now we can hear you.
Yes, so that was part of what we did. So for HR, when you have that kind of HR, it has to do with value system. And because of the value system, it becomes an issue. No, for all the talent that you need to work with, it has to do with all the departments need to be involved. If the person is coming to work in the finance department, you also need to involve the finance head of department, the line managers, and it will not be limited to HR alone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Dosu, is that okay? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Thank you so much. Let's go over to Tunde. Tunde, you have the floor, please.
Okay, yeah. Thank you. Good evening.
Good
afternoon. Yeah. Good evening, sir. Mr. Yemi and Madam Mary. Thank you for this submission. Like I said, I'm always joining you from UK. Each time I'm on break. I think please, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Your topic is apt on, and it's one that I think it's very, very valuable, especially for some of us who are transitioning into HR. And I want to pick it from where your points. Intermittently, I was missing you. I was going on in and out. But I don't know. Maybe you talked about the last one I picked. You talked about having to align. Strategic alignments, which I think is very important, even if you want to make a statement or you want to project a particular principle as an HR, you want to do something, you must align. And I will give a practical example, and so you can support me with that. Now, I did HR program initially, and this is where I've worked for a very long time, almost 20 years. I've not been HR, but I work in a different department, working with the CEO now. But I see that my HR is not the HR that I think should be. And I want to kind of, come down and see how I can have one or two inputs in the HR departments of an organization that is big. So I will like you've mentioned one or two strategy that one can use maybe if I want you to talk more on that, maybe of course, Mr. Olayemi too can assist in that, even when we are still going to meet in the coming 7th of September, management class, whatever. So I just need your input in that to support me. I don't know if you get me.
Yes, sir, I do. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
So fantastic. Also, remember that you have your goal in mind. You have your vision. You know where you are headed. Now you have envisaged the picture of the type of HR that will fit in to that projection that you have. You can also carry out this assessment of the current HR staff that you have. You look at where is she currently and where are you expecting her to be? What are those gaps? What are those skills that she needs? Because you also need to help her. She might not even know that she is not performing up to expectation. So what do you do? At the same time, as you're looking at the gap, the training, she will also need a mentor. Who is she looking up to in the HR space? Because if you have excellent HR experience, you can serve as her mentor. You can also serve as a coach. But you should be able to ensure that her value system must also align with yours in order for you to get her to where you want her to be. So look at her skill currently. What are those areas? What areas is she struggling with? What behavior is she exhibiting? Or is it possible that she's not even interested in HR? So you need to engage her in that conversation. Find out from her, okay, if we take it to another department, aside from HR, which other department will they take you to? What are you trying to do? You are trying to assess her. I remember when I was interviewed, when I didn't have a job, a senior head of HR kept asking, so maybe you are not working. Okay, what do you want to do? I have a sales role. She kept talking about sales. I told her, I said, sorry, ma'am, I'm not interested. I'm not interested. So she could tell. So when you engage her, take out time, engage her fully to know if she truly has passion. Now, if she has passion, what are those skills that she's lacking? What are those training that you need to build for her? What are those certifications that she needs to have? And also, who is also serving as a mentor for her? That will help her to come out from her comfort zone. Is she a shy person? Is she somebody that doesn't like to talk in the crowd? Does she talk well on just between herself and the other junior staff? So you need to be able to assess this, because when you want to provide solution, it is not just one side that will fit in her situation. It could be, it's possible that it could even the family issue that is also mitigating in her performance, in her shining. So it's a holistic approach that you will need to take on her, but don't give up on her, because from the way you speak, it shows that you are interested in her growth, which is very, very important. And that way you'll be able to guide her and she'll be able to run through. And also check with her, what network does she have? You can introduce her. There are a lot of network, HR group, either in Nigeria or whichever, wherever that she can identify. You can even discuss with doctor. Some of us can also help her, because sometimes when some of HR people needs to grow, they also need to see what is happening in the outside world. What I mean by outside world is what is happening from their immediate environment, because that way they'll be able to assess, are they also growing as an individual, or they are stagnant, thinking that they are doing well, not knowing that they are actually serving as a local champion. Thank you for that question, sir.
Fantastic. There are some questions in the chat. Kindly respond to them, Mary. We have questions from Mary, Patrick. We also have a question from Chika. Patrick, for example, says, Ma, what about in a situation where your contributions and ideas are not accepted because the CEO, who is also the owner of the business, feels like you know too much? or want to overthrow senior colleague, what should the person do?
Yes, thank you for that question. This is what we all face. So it's not happening to you alone. Remember, I said that sometimes when you need to come up with some ideas, you look out for someone in the management level or your manager. You can just tell your manager, Oga, I think we can do this, we can do that. So go to that meeting. You can tell them in the meeting that you are the one that came up with this suggestion, because you are looking for solution. And that solution you are looking for is also to help you to ensure that you also don't get choked with unnecessary workload. So when you come up with some suggestions, sometimes don't make it look like the suggestion is coming from you. Even when you go for a meeting, maybe a departmental meeting, you can just say, "Oh, what do we think? I think we can do this. Oga, I think you have a better idea." Now, when you elevate him that way, remember you have suggested something, then you are being tactical. Then you quickly say, "Oh, boss, I think you might have a better idea. What do you think?" At that point in time, your boss will now decide to, because he had realized that you have acknowledged him in that process. And that way, you'll be able to flow with your suggestion. Also, you can also make do with there are some organizations that have suggestion box. If you find it difficult to push some of your ideas and you are not in HR, for example, can you hear me, please? Let me be sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Thank you, sir. You can also go to, maybe if you're not in HR, you can go to the HR and suggest to the HR to come up with a suggestion box. There are some employees who want to suggest some things, but they are not bold enough to do that. That way, you are saying that because of yourself. So you find out that the HR too will be excited to do that. And you quickly drop your suggestion without even adding your names. Mind you, sometimes you can come up with a suggestion that might not be accepted at that point in time. Don't believe that. Don't think that all suggestions will run that minute. No, you can come back, discuss with your boss, and change the pattern. Come out another time. I remember when we wanted to work on a leave issue. We're having leave issue challenge in my office then, way back. And so I told my boss, I said, "Okay, but we have that gentleman that I talked about that is good in web developing." I said, "We can ask that guy to create a platform for everybody to apply for leave." My boss did not take my suggestion serious. I allowed it to slide. After a while, I went back. I said, "Oh God, this thing will save us. So it will save you. Nobody will be troubling you." So that MD that I used to call you that you approve somebody's leave, on that system, you will see who approve the person's leave. Now you have redirect approval to the line manager, to the head of the department. So from that angle, my boss said, "Oh, truly, this thing you're talking about makes sense." And that was how that project came up. Mind you, when I came up with that suggestion the first time, it didn't fly. I came up again, it didn't fly the second time, the third time, but I didn't give up. And I wasn't forceful. Then when I came out again, I made it look that in the angle of helping the manager. So when you're coming up with your suggestion, come up from the angle that you're trying to help him so that he can rest, so that you're not telling that, oh, you don't want the work to choke him, that he also have family to go back to. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mary. The final question, which is also in the chat box from Chika, says here, to what extent is the HR department required or expected to assist managers in developing the competency mapping tools? This is after you have done in-depth training and shared templates with the managers.
Okay, so remember I talked about getting all the stakeholders involved. So at that point, the positions that are coming up, the head of the department knows who is coming to do what. Either you have the staff on ground or not. So at that point, the job description will not start and end with the HR. You need the input of that department. You need the input of the line manager. You need the input of the head of the department, because they have their goals, they have their KPIs cut out for them. Please note, because of course sometimes we feel that, oh, it is the HR that come up with the job description. It is the HR. No, what we are doing, we are supporting. We are giving them the support. This is what we want. Okay, you say you want so person. Can you give? Because, like, for example, you joined a HR department of an airline. There's no way you know what the type of training that the pilot will have to undergo. There is no way. It is the head of flight operation that will know the type of training vis-a-vis the type of aircraft that the candidates that is coming for that pilot position will occupy. So if you say the job description should start and end with HR, okay, so that means what HR will just do in that situation will be to fly out, to send out advert. Oh, we need pilots for so company. You didn't state the type of aircraft. You didn't state the position, because it is the head of that department that can determine that. What level of pilot, what level of head of sales, what years of experience? Yes, we all join hands, discuss it. But what the bottom line is that, so that when they don't have the needed talent, they will not blame you for not giving them what they want. You are trying to also train them to be able to stand, because HR is there to groom and support. So you should be able to train them. You're also trying to develop them to the point of also being able to manage conflict, disciplinary issues. But why HR will come in is so that you are trying to also be fair and document all the process. So it is not the job of HR to start and end all the process. No. You also need to go back. So sometimes you come up with this talent mapping, you come up with training, and you also get to see some hiccups. That is why I say, after you have done all this, review your process again. Review. That's why I say it's a continual thing. It's not something you just do now and then the next one you want to do is end of the year. No. You keep reviewing the process. You keep engaging all the employees. You keep engaging all the the line managers, and you keep engaging the management staff. Because the training
Hello, Mary, we can't hear you anymore. You need to unmute. Mary, you need to unmute.
The network just bouncing up. So you need to engage all the stakeholders for you to get it right. And that way, it also makes you to also go back to face other aspects of the job instead of carrying unnecessary baggages.
All right, thank you so much. We have about 2 or 3 questions to go. This is a follow-up question to the first question. And he says here, in a situation where the organization doesn't have a competency framework and you as HR, you just joined, would you suggest that competency framework be introduced? Will it be a good idea?
100%. 100%. But how do you start? First and foremost, look out for the pain points of the organization. What is the organization struggling with? Because whatever you're going to come with must be able to solve a nagging issue. Because if you don't have a problem that you're solving, you'll just be everywhere. Mind you, you also have your KPI. So what do? You just join the organization, have that one-on-one conversation with the management. Have that conversation. Take your time. Oh, what is your staff strength? What area are you struggling with? Where do you need help? You need to have that engagement. And as you're having those conversations, you have to document it. That is where you start from. And that is where what you are doing at that point. You're carrying out audits invariably without even voicing it out. You go to the other department. Okay, sir, you said you have an issue with so area. But how about the staffs you have? I can see you have 15 staff. What are they doing? What are they not doing? A particular organization I work with before I left, the first thing I did was a finance department. And what did I do? I started this way. The next thing I did, the head of finance said, oh, I need staff. And I went to my MD, I said, sir, the head of finance said he needs staff. My MD said, don't mind him. He has a lot of staff. So I went back to him. I said, sir, remember I've sent a mail to you 2 weeks ago. Can I have that meeting with you? When are you free? When are you not free? He gave me the time frame. And I said, please, I need support. I cannot help you if you don't give me your time. That you need to shine. That management is expecting you to deliver on social KPI, on social KPI, on social KPI. Mind you, before that is that section, I had a one-on-one conversation with my MD, and I've asked my MD, are there deliverables that are pending, that are key, that are instrumental, that may affect the organization? And so my MD said, oh, this area in finance, I need it done ASAP. So when I had that conversation with the head of finance, I started by listening to him first. I wasn't jumping. I made it look like, oh, I don't know anything. Okay, sir, can I have a conversation with each of the staffs? I have to take the pain to do it. On behold, only to realize that about 5 staffs were doing the same thing. So which now gives room for just 2 staffs doing the main work, while the other 3 were always on YouTube, on the private email, and all that and all that. So I now told the boss, I said, sir, I think there's an issue here. I noticed A used to be on this. I noticed B used to be on this. Can you change the process, how the system, how the laptops are being arranged, so that as you walked in, you can see what everybody are actually doing? And that was the game changer for the head of the finance. So what have I done? I have also helped him to realize that he doesn't need the number of people he was asking for. Rather, instead of the number, he actually needed 1. And he was impressed. So your strategy is very key. Don't just jump that, oh, you want to do this. No. First and foremost, start by having that one-on-one conversation with everybody. Now, carry out the staff audits. What are those skills? What do you need? Then, aside from that, also have that conversation with the employees. You also need to look at what is the attrition rate of the organization. Are the staff really engaged? Or are they just there to mark time? Do you have people that are always coming to work? And when it's 9 o'clock, that's when some people are just coming. When it's 2, they want to go. I had that issue in a particular organization. What did I do? I said, okay, sir, how about the clocking machine? Oh, the man said, oh, 10 years ago, they used to have the clocking machine, that he doesn't know who removed it. I said, oh, really? I brought the clocking machine back in all the branches. And before we knew it, the line manager, I have to know how the conversation with the line manager. And I said, I noticed you always pursue your colleagues. You always call them. I noticed you call them. I didn't make it look like it's a concern for me. I said, you notice, do you realize that if you don't have this person on ground, it will affect your KPI? Clients are coming in hundreds. I said, do you know that is a minus for you? Look at this item has expired. And that was how I got it buying. And I said, so we are going to come up with clocking machine. He said, fantastic. Go ahead. I will support you. In fact, when we went to the next management meeting, he has to tell, they said, oh, maybe you suggested clocking machine. We are yet to see it. So the timing of what you are bringing in is key. But in answering your question, excellent, it is needed, but also tie it to what you need to attend to first before trickling down to other areas. How have I been able to answer that?
Thank you so much. This has been a very engaging, highly exhilarating session. We have learned so much in such a brilliant time, and I am very grateful to you on behalf of everyone who have joined this session tonight. Thank you so much for what you have done. Ladies and gentlemen, we absolutely need to call it a wrap at this intersection. I would like to unmute everyone. Please let's say thank you to our facilitator who has joined us all the way from the Middle East. Thank you so much. We are very grateful.
Thank you very much. We had a
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I have a question. I've been trying to send it through the chat. Hello.